All right, Bulls and Bears, welcome to 2025. Happy New Year. I really do hope you're having a happy New Year. It's been kind of a tragic start to 2025. We're going to talk about some recent events, but mostly we're going to focus on the economy, the cost of living, where we're at, where we're headed, what's going to be happening, what to get ready for, how to invest, all that. Please make sure you're subscribed and get the year started off on a good note for me here. Thank you very much to everyone that's here. I know you could be a lot of places. You could be watching a lot of information, other news out there. So I really am blessed to have you here with me today. Tragic start to the new year. We've got flames, a vehicle bursting into flames in Vegas, a cyber truck, a Tesla cyber truck, possible ties to terror signs are pointed at in that. Also down in New Orleans, you probably have been watching the news on that. I was scrolling through the news, not through the news, just through channels, and I was going to not watch any news today. I was just going to have a news-free day, besides the news that I pulled up yesterday regarding the economy. But I was just going to maybe watch some football, and I went to a bowl game, and they said the bowl game has been delayed because of a tragedy. Basically, a vehicle, a truck plowed into people. They're saying it's also terror signs on that as well, and traits. And they're saying not just possible, they're saying definitely. A lot of people injured, a lot of people didn't make it. They got unalived, unfortunately. So tragic start to the new year. It's just going to get crazier, folks. And these things are going to start happening more frequently. We saw what happened in 2020, the last year of the previous administration. Well, guess what? I don't think you've seen anything yet. It's about ready to get wild. So will it affect the markets? How will it affect the economy? Will the cost of living continue to rise like it's been? I think so, and we're going to get into why. But please let me know what you think about this down in comments about these situations. Are they random, or is there some sort of connection? And unfortunately, we're going to see more of this. That's what I'm wondering. Let me know your thoughts down below. And we've got another warning out there. This comes out of Raw Story. We're going to tell you who said it. Farms will come to a stop. Farmers warn of soaring food prices under the new administration. A lifetime farmer who lives in an area filled with signs supporting the new administration expressed concerns about what will happen if mass exiting of the not-so-legals is actually carried through. Quote, "We can't have mass exits of the not-so-legals here because it would disrupt our food supply," is what he's saying. We really think, we don't think anyone wants that, basically, is what he's saying. So basically it comes down to cheap labor, folks. And we've heard the same argument for a very, very long time. You hear both sides of the argument, both sides of the fence. Some people say there's no way these farms can afford to pay these people even more to pick these crops because the farms are barely getting by. Other people say, well, the farms need to fail if they can't afford to pay a fair wage. And then guess what happens? The cost of food skyrockets even higher. So it's a no-win situation, folks. I don't know how it's going to end up or what's going to play out of this. But we do know we better be cautious and aware here of what we're going into. Quote, "There are a few, if any, issues more important than food supply." Yeah, there's probably not many. And public health. California is the largest producer of food in the nation. I've said that here before when people make fun of California. It's not just homeless people and toxic beaches. And I say that because there's literally a toxic beach a little south of me called Imperial Beach, and there's so much sewage flowing up from Tijuana that they have to close the beach down in most days in this area called Imperial Beach. So it's literally toxic. And so it's more than just homeless, toxic beaches and high prices. We have a lot of farms. The danger is we've had such bad droughts, and the farmers have had a very difficult time just keeping their head above water with the cost of everything. And you add on top of that the drought, the crop destruction, and just the cost of living, the cost of everything. Fertilizer, the cost of operating a farm is just going higher nonstop. And so it's very concerning, to a lot of people who already really are having a tough time with their daily budgets here. Quote, "We will not be able to harvest our fruits and vegetables and nuts," he continued, "and that will interrupt the food chain for Americans." Sorry, I've got a dryer going off back there. and would possibly increase food prices tremendously too. Well, we've already seen food prices go up tremendously without a mass exiting of the not so legals. So what's this going to do to the food prices? I mean, please let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Is this a nothing burger? Is this something to be concerned about? I continue to stock up on canned goods because I see, the black swan unfolding in the not too distant future. And even if it doesn't, that's even worse because they're just going to keep throwing more money at this. And even if a situation does come in to put a stop to everything like 2020, they're just going to come in throwing so much money at the problem. That's all they could do. They could just throw money at the problem. That it's going to make the cost of living explode even higher, unfortunately. All right, but let me be positive for a minute. Cost of living continues to go higher. The cost of housing, the cost of food, everything else. No problem, no problem. Why? Because we have cheap, affordable housing with apartments built above Costco. So now it's going to save you gas because you can just walk downstairs and go shopping. And even if you do need gas, you can probably get gas at that Costco. Costco apartments, remember we talked about this, last summer? A real estate developer in Los Angeles, of course, Los Angeles of all places, is testing a new blueprint for affordable housing, stack apartments on top of Costco. Okay, why on top of Costco? Is it going to have Costco pricing? Thrive Living is planning to begin construction in early 2025 in an 800-unit affordable housing complex. So it's going to have the Costco tactic of being a little cheaper. Affordable pricing is what they're saying, affordable housing. It's going to be very interesting, though, to see if these expand and see if it becomes a trend in different cities. But why does it have to be a connection with Costco? Why not just build affordable housing? Anyways, we'll go ahead and get into that here a little more in a little bit here. But first, look at this headline. The dam is about to break as U.S. credit card loan defaults soar. Experts warn. So we're seeing some very troubling signs, and this whole thing could break or explode or implode, depending on how you want to look at it, under the new incoming administration. And we know the soaring debt combined with the soaring cost of living is headed in one direction, folks. It's getting higher all the time. Some people say there's no limit. What they can do is erase the debt for the people, and then people can start all over again. Other people say there's got to be a limit. We're going to see a breaking point, and we're going to see a bust at some point. I think they're just going to gloss over the bust, just like they did a few years ago, where there should have been mass deflation. Prices should have crashed, but remember they put a floor under asset prices, and the cost of living therefore went up. But it says here, experts are sounding the alarm over a report saying that credit card loan defaults skyrocketed here in 2024 and that the dam is about to break on Americans, that most of them are on record high consumer debt, close to 70%. During the first 9 months of the year, lenders wrote off more than $46 billion in seriously delinquent credit card loans, according to a report out of the Financial Times. That's an increase of more than 50% from the year prior and the highest since 2010. Now, again, we'll have to look at both sides of this. Some people say that's terrible. It's going to mean a tragedy is coming very, very soon. Other people say these write-offs, they could just print more money and funnel it back into the banks because the banks are going to be not allowed to fail, of course. So other people say it's a nothing burger and that there's no problem because the banks are just going to be propped up no matter what. What's your side of the opinion or the fence? We'll say, let me know down in comments. Remember, the longer they keep the banks propped up to keep loaning out money, the worse inflation gets. Remember, it's a deflation. It's a crash preventative measure to keep these banks alive, to keep them operational forever. No matter how many loans go bad, folks, it's highly inflationary to let this kind of thing continue. Basically, you're supporting or you're rewarding bad practices. You're rewarding failure is what you're doing when you do this. High-income households are fine. That's what they say. But the bottom third of the U.S. consumers are tapped out. I would actually disagree. We saw plenty of reports that we talked about here that said 6+ figure income earners, a lot of them now, was it 40, 50% living paycheck to paycheck. So not as bad as the bottom 70% or people making less than $100,000 for the most part. About 70% living paycheck to paycheck. But a big portion of them, we uncovered here several times, are living paycheck to paycheck. And we even saw it during the onset of the health crisis. We had federal workers begging for money on social media and doing those Fund Me apps, was it GoFundMe and stuff like that, federal workers just after 1 or 2 missed paychecks begging for money. Do you guys remember that? I reported on it here. I remember it just like it was yesterday. Folks, a lot of people are living off borrowed money, and when one paycheck is disrupted or delayed, people go into panic mode because they can't make their minimum payment. Sorry, I bumped the mic there. That's what it's about. It's about meeting the minimum payment. Doesn't matter how much debt you have. Nobody cares anymore. It's about, what's the payment? What's the monthly payment? What do they tell you at the car dealer when you're looking at a car? Don't worry about the price. Let's look at the payment. We're going to stretch it out to 66 months, 72 months, maybe even 84 months. Don't worry about the price. The monthly payment. The longer you stretch it out, the longer your risk of having a disruption somewhere along the way, that you're going to lose your job or have an income decrease type of situation hit. The story goes on that household debt combined hit at 18 trillion. It's over 18 trillion now. And we see everything way above where it was during the financial crisis. So what's different between now and then? People will say this time is different. Well, it is. They found new ways to keep the debt game extended. Some people say to infinity and beyond. We would have crashed already if we had the same things in place today as we did back then. But now we've got more ways to keep the system operational, even with debt way above where it was back then. So it's very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out here, and if it's going to be just continued inflation, or if we're going to see some sort of correction, a failure in the banking system, or crash. Be prepared for both, folks, because this is so manipulated that there's no timeline that anyone can give you. I mean, we've talked about people here that have been in the economy reporting business for decades. People like Jim Rogers, people like Schiff, many others we've quoted here in this channel. Many of them predicted that something was going to implode several years ago. Rubino, many others that have been even writing books for decades about this stuff. And they even can't predict what type of manipulation, what type of mechanisms and ways to prop this thing up are going to pop up next. Let me think of another one. Authors like Harry Dent, predicting massive deflationary situations for many years now that have never materialized. And I just don't think people understand the mechanism of money behind all this, folks. When there's no limit, when we came off the gold standard in 71, then there became no limit. And of course, since then, things have become highly digitized, where now we don't even have tangible money in the form of bills and coins. Even though that was fiat money, at least it was somewhat limited to the amount of money you can stuff in your wallet. Starting in the mid to 880s, mid to 880s, and it was ladies, but mid to 880s is when people started moving to credit cards, especially in the 90s. The credit card usage exploded, and now we're 90+% digital transactions. I think it's closer to 95%. And the money that's in circulation right now, quote unquote money, less than, I believe, 8% of that is tangible. It's mostly digits on a screen, on your computer screen when you look at your bank balance. There's nothing behind it, folks. There's no gold and silver bars in a vault. There's not even fiat paper money and fiat coins in the vault to back up the money that you see on the digital screen. In other words, it's mostly digits on a screen, and at the click of a mouse, they can just funnel, here we go again, funnel, if they want to, trillions of dollars into the financial institutions, send it over here, send it over there, and there's certain people that do get rich off this type of system, so those are the same people that are paying off the politicians to keep this type of thing extended to infinity. All right, anyways, on to some other news. Do you guys give money to the people standing outside of the store? Ding, 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 ding. Salvation Army person. A rare gold coin worth thousands of dollars found in Pittsburgh area Salvation Army kettle. Very interesting. Somebody wanted to be nice. They wanted to be anonymous, and they dropped a rare coin in the kettle. At first, when they were talking about Salvation Army, I thought they were talking about the thrift store, and I thought they dropped it into like a vase or something, into a kettle, and then somebody bought it and found the coin. Wouldn't that be cool? Buying a kettle or something, or a pot from a thrift store, and you find a gold coin. But no, this was the donation. There was a dollar bill that was completely taped up and wrapped up. It was Christmas Eve. Somebody slipped in a rare gold coin wrapped in a dollar bill. Well, I hope it's going to be put to good use. Unfortunately, maybe I'm too jaded here because all the news that I look at. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to actually go to the people that really need it. And I think most of you know how that works. All right, let's move on to something here about the cost of living. In this case, New York. It's always New York, isn't it? Congestion pricing starting January 5th. And it's very interesting, the new prices that are going to be implemented there. And they're saying it's going to help the environment. So to help the environment, it would have to cut down on the number of people driving. So with congestion pricing, they're charging people for driving within a certain area of New York during certain hours. And they're going to charge, they need to buy a pass, and they're charging them a fee. And it's going to be camera enforced. It's very interesting. It's almost creepy, the type of surveillance that they're doing on top of this. Let's take a listen to a quick report on this.
Ruling on congestion pricing is causing confusion tonight. According to the MTA, this ruling means it can move forward with the controversial plan as scheduled. But an attorney for the state of New Jersey says not so fast.
Fast forward a little bit here.
On a lawsuit meant to stop congestion pricing. The judge rejecting most of the state of New Jersey's environmental objections to the toll, but did rule the Federal Highway Administration should weigh in.
Environmental protections. You think you're going to change something that looks like this and be environmentally friendly?
The new pricing law set to begin after midnight on January 5th. Under the plan, the peak price for cars entering Manhattan below 60th Street with Easy Pass is $9.
$9.
Off-peak is $2.25.
So off-peak only $2.25. What are the hours, though? Look at this.
Peak hours are from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
5 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekends, on weekdays. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekends. Pretty much all day. Unless you're up very early or out very late, then you're not going to be paying this because it's not peak hours. It's less traffic. So the bar hoppers and the people going to the nightclubs, they won't have to pay anything. But people going to work, we're going to have to pay this? Is that how it goes? So you're rewarding the nightclub goers and the bar hoppers, but you're punishing the people that have to go to work. Very interesting. Or maybe it's a lot of tourists that are coming there. They're trying to cut down on the number of tourists. But if you're cutting down on the tourists or making them pay, you're discouraging them from coming into your city. Isn't that going to be less people spending money in your city? Are people just going to say, forget about it, I don't want to go to visit New York and pay these prices? Anyways, let's just play a little bit more, see what they say here.
p.m. weekdays and 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. weekend.
I don't want to go on a subway but then I have to pay to drive.
While the judge did not explicitly say whether the tolling should pause until federal transportation officials further explain.
So what's the solution? Oh, take the subway. And then you look at a headline over here. If you guys can see this. Man shoved onto subway tracks hit by train. This is just sad. But take the subway. It's safe. And you're helping the environment, right?
Explain parts of the program. The MTA said in a statement, the decision does not interfere with the program's scheduled implementation this coming Sunday, January 5th. New York Governor Kathy Hochul also calling it a win, saying the program will move forward this weekend with a 40% reduction in the originally proposed cost of the bill. But an attorney for the state of New Jersey.
Anyways, there's details in it, but the bottom line is that they're going to be tracing people to see if they have this pass and charging people for driving in New York City. To me, it's a very big brother watching you type of thing. Something that I wouldn't want to have in my city, but people love New York and that's where their job is at. And people, for the most part, will put up with it. Will it help anything? Or is it just going to make a certain few people, like we talked about earlier? Is it just going to make a certain few people very, very wealthy? I tend to say the latter. On to something else real quick. Power is restored to nearly all Puerto Rico after a major blackout. That was just in the past 1 to 2 days. Affected nearly all customers across Puerto Rico. I was watching New Year's Eve Puerto Rico bash on New Year's Eve, and power was on. Things were definitely bright. Power's back up for 98% of Puerto Rico. 1.47 million utility customers on New Year's Day said. Lights returned to households, hospitals, water plants. Company warned customers could still see temporary outages. Given the fragile nature of the grid, we will need to manage available generation to customer demand. The lights went off at 5:30 a.m. on Tuesday, which was New Year's Eve, darkening almost the entire area as people prepared to ring in the new year. Authorities are investigating the cause of the outage. So here we go, another strange, mysterious outage that they can't explain. They can't explain the weird drones that have been flying around. They can't explain all the hacks we just had. The Treasury supposedly hacked. No one can explain it. They say it's China. Nobody knows how they got in. folks, just wait till the entire banking system goes down or the entire grid. Get ready for it, but don't be scared. Just be ready. Just be prepared. Me talking about these things should make you less scared because you're going to be prepared. You're going to have some extra canned goods. You're not going to have all your money tied up on a digital platform somewhere. You know what I'm talking about, folks? So just be ready for that. And that way you're going to be calm. No matter what happens, you're going to be thinking of bull, boom, bear, bust. Said this could happen, and I was ready for it. If it doesn't happen, hip, hip, hooray. Great. Anyways, hope you guys are well. I should say people. Hope you people are well. Everybody. And 2025 is going to be very, very interesting, to say the least. It's off to an explosive start, unfortunately, with the stories that we mentioned earlier. And what's going to happen, folks? We only have a few more weeks until supposedly the transition to the new administration. Will we even make it there? That's what I'm wondering, folks. We've got some other things we need to talk about in the next episode. I still need to do more research, debating on if I should even talk about it or not. But please make sure to subscribe. Very important news nonetheless that we're going to be covering in that. Keep stacking, everybody. Big love. Bye for now. Peace.